Good afternoon, everyone. I know that several people have been waiting in the chat. I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Gaming News at Noon with Salty and Boom. I am one of your hosts, MrBooMStickXL, and with me, as always, from the Saltiest Podcast Network, Salty. Welcome, dude.
Hey, perfect timing, right? My phone goes off because it alerted me that we went live and I didn't mute my phone. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's good to be back. Wednesday hump day. You know what it
Hump
is, guys. It's
day.
good to be back with Boom talking games. I'm excited. We have tons of great topics, right, Boom?
Oh yeah,
Tons of
we have we have a baker's dozen on tap for some of the best news that you can find on YouTube, especially for a lunch show. As you guys know, we Salty and I have both decided that an hour just did not cut the mustard. So last week we started doing the 90-minute shows, and that will continue today because, like I said, we have over a baker's dozen worth of topics, and we're going to open up the show with kind of what we've been playing, something new I wanted to add. And, I wanted to talk about Metro Exodus. Salty did an absolutely outstanding review, giving it 9 salt shakers out of 10. We just talking in the pregame. Both of us admit that we kind of slept on the title. I mean, I already had it pre-ordered, but to be honest, I didn't know what to expect. Right now, I am probably maybe 10 hours into it. I just made it to the springtime section. I am kind of really just dragging my heels through the first part of the game simply because I want to find every secret. I wanted to find as much ammo and as much supplies as I could. The story is absolutely engrossing. Like I said, it really does tell a story of exploration. It definitely is. I am going to say this. It encourages the player to look around each corner. It's extremely challenging. It is, I know Salty is going to get to, his opinion on the second, but it really does give me that Fallout, the old school Fallout kind of a feeling. But Salty, first of all, congratulations on the review. It's doing very well. I know you really enjoyed it. You put over 20 hours into it. That's really amazing. What were your takeaways from what you played on Metro Exodus?
Man, takeaways, dude. I could fill up the whole show with my takeaways on this, man. This game is phenomenal. First of all, I think it's getting some traction now because people are starting to play it for whatever reason. There's lots of titles to choose from. Obviously there's the Anthem. People got in there early. There's Crackdown. There's all this other stuff going on. So Metro, a lot of people slept on it. Just like myself. Like on Xbox Nation, Mooch was saying it was going to drop in Game Pass. Nobody's going to buy it, this and that. And that's fine. Like we thought that originally because, it's a Metro game. If you look at the other ones, they drop down to like $5 or something pretty quick. And it's one of those things where not a lot of people knew about this game or wanted to play this game or whatever. Just I myself didn't really like the first two. So when I saw the Metro E3 trailer, I was like, holy shit, I'm blown away by the graphical fidelity, man. This shit looks crazy. But I wasn't sure if it was going to translate to the Xbox One X because sometimes they downgrade it and sometimes, you don't get what they show on these trailers a lot of times. But we got what they showed. Trust me, this stuff is phenomenal. Like the graphical fidelity, the lighting, the draw distance, the steady frame rate, everything just phenomenal. The best looking title, in my opinion, on console. I played Red Dead Redemption 2. I played other titles like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And this by far, with everything, the whole package just blows me away. Like I can't tell you guys how much my jaw was on the ground the whole game. Like I was just sitting back and looking, I was like, holy shit, man, this is next gen. This is the kind of stuff that I've been waiting for to play and just get blown away. But it wasn't just the way the game looked, it's the way the game played, the story. Like you were saying, it felt like an old Fallout game where you're scrounging around trying to find supplies to upgrade your guns or this and that and craft items, and you're exploring this world that has different biomes, man. Like boom, seriously, I could take up a whole hour and a half if I wanted to talk about this because it's that good. I recommend this to pretty much everybody because it's a really good game. I think that people need to play it, and I think it's one of the best of this generation. I think it might be up there for Game of the Year nominations, honestly, so.
Well, I mean, look, you said it. You said something just now that I thought was really interesting. When they showed off this game, a lot
Mhm.
of people, there are the naysayers in the community.
Yep.
There's no way the graphics can be that good. We are here to tell you that what you're witnessing might be the best graphics on any console
Yep.
to date. There has been talk, and I don't really follow Digital Foundry, so I don't know if it has 19 pixels more on the PC than it does on the Xbox One X. But I am going to say that there are several people in the community that have suggested and said publicly it's that the Metro Exodus on the Xbox One X runs better than the
It does.
PC.
Yep.
So I mean, look, all obviously, if you were on the fence and you weren't sure and you wanted to take someone's opinion, I highly recommend, and Salty, both of us highly recommend Metro Exodus. I mean, is the game going to go on sale in 30 days, 60 days? Probably. So if you're a gamer that has a little bit of a tight strap, a lot of we are, life gets in the
Mhm.
way, you can't buy everything, hang out and just wait for a sale. But don't watch any videos, don't watch
Yep.
outside of trailers. Really, you should explore and experience this game for yourself. It is that amazing. So let's move on to the next topic, Salty. And you know what? Speaking of developers, according to a story that I pulled from comicbook.com, Ubisoft is planning to launch at least 3 AAA games by March 2020. And this information comes to us from an earnings call that happened on February 14th. I mean, even business never takes a break, even on the holidays.
Yep.
But it's interesting because, you say to yourself, wow, what are AAA titles? Well, AAA titles, they're the big ones. And we know that Ubisoft absolutely has been killing it as of late. We know that according to early reports, Salty, that we're not getting a new Assassin's Creed in this year. They're taking a year off, very similar to what they did when they released Origins. And I'm okay with that because, we don't know which way they're going to go. Hopefully, they eventually get themselves to Japan. Ghost Recon may be coming out. We don't know. I'd like to believe that one of those titles at least is a new, for God's sakes. But in your opinion, with the way that Ubisoft has been doing their business, their games have been nothing short of quality, bang after bang after bang. There's no doubt about it. But this confirmation of 3 big AAA games before March 2020 says a lot to me because I'm a big Ubisoft fan. As a matter of fact, they're one of my favorite companies.
Mhm.
What are your takeaways from this earnings call, and what do you personally want to see them release in the next 12 months?
Man, like you think about the titles that they own, and you're correct. Ubisoft has stepped their game up. If you think about a couple years previous, they were kind of releasing unfinished, buggy games, and that was kind of their MO. But like recently, they've been stepping their game up, right? Finished games, quality games. The Assassin's Creed series kind of comes to mind. You remember how For Honor was released as kind of a
Yep.
new IP and stuff like that. And there was other titles that kind of followed suit there. They just came out with Far Cry New Dawn, right? That was one, but that's not going to be one of these new ones that they had. So no Far Cry there. Splinter Cell is obviously something that people have been asking for a very long time. But it comes to a point where you keep hearing rumors and rumors and rumors about this Splinter Cell situation, and we don't see the fruits of our labor, as fans, like trying to ask for this. It's like, where is this title at? I think Splinter Cell could definitely be one of them, because when's the last time a Splinter Cell game
Oh
came
my
out,
God,
man?
it has been a while,
2013,
dude.
2013 or something like
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely a title. I don't know if they would do another Watch Dogs. I didn't really get into that, it's not really my bag, but potentially they could do another Watch Dogs, depending on how much money that made. And I don't know what else, because the Assassin's Creed franchise is big for them. They got, I would say something like, they have games as a service, right? For God, what is it called?
Rainbow Six
Rainbow
Siege.
Six Siege,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that's not really a new game that they're going to come out with, and all this other stuff. I don't know, man. Honestly, like I thought of those two games, and then I don't know what else they would come out with. Honestly, a new IP maybe, probably
Well,
would be my thought.
it's definitely possible. What we could see the resurgence of is a game that hasn't been out in a long time. Is Prince of Persia is
Prince of
something that
Persia, yeah,
that, that comes to
yep.
mind as well. We know that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is in development. It's supposed to be a
Hmm.
massive game. And if it does happen to be 2020, it's easy to say. Well, they said no Assassin's Creed in 2019. Maybe it's 2020, but I don't necessarily know. I don't think they've ever released an Assassin's Creed in the first quarter of a year. Usually, that's the big end of the year. That September, October, November block. So I don't see it then. I am going to say this. The remaster of Assassin's Creed 3 with the Native American, I'm super stoked to play that. That's actually one of the few ones I did not beat. I started it, did not beat it. It's obviously getting 4K visuals. I'm actually getting it for free because I bought the gold edition of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and that was one of the perks. Buy this, you get this game free. It's coming out soon.
Hmm.
I'm really excited for it. I'm a huge fan of Assassin's Creed. I have to admit though, as much as I enjoyed Greece, as much as I enjoyed Egypt, I thought those were fantastic, real awesome locations. I don't think I'm the only person going to say this, Salty. It's time for them to head over to Japan
Dude,
because
I was just going to say that. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off,
no,
but
go take it away, dude.
so I took a clip of when you come out of the Animus or whatever, and you're the I don't know what her name is, but she's the chick that goes in the Animus and
Yes, yes,
whatever.
yes.
There's a file that I found that was one of her colleagues is Japanese, and they do this thing where you talk to him and he talks about the Japanese assassins or whatever. Like I need to find the clip, but I feel like that was put in there as an Easter egg of what's to come. I'll definitely get the clip and put it up on Twitter. But when I heard it and the way it was said and the things that they were saying about it, I feel like they kind of put that in there to say, hey, this is where we're going next. And I was like, holy shit, this is going to be awesome, right? So,
Well, I mean, I think it's time, Salty, to be
yeah.
honest with you. I mean, there are a lot of people within the community who are fans like myself who have been calling for this. It almost seems as if it's almost in the same lines of okay, it's time for a new Splinter Cell. I think it's time to go to Japan. I mean, it just fits the Assassin's Creed model
Yep.
so well that what do you say? I mean, it's just it would be a phenomenal location, and it would really just do the series. It's the one location I think that everyone, and I mean like everyone who's a fan of the series, would love to visit. And considering the way that they were able to put together Egypt and Greece, I can only imagine the dark overtones and the real incredible sites that you could get in Japan, especially the way they do it. They're very meticulous when it comes to recreating the worlds.
Hmm.
So it would. I'm right there with you, dude. Like I said, I
Can
think fingers crossed.
Can you imagine with the way that they're doing the series now with the RPG elements and
Oh
the
man,
additions,
dude.
like the things that they could add in there, man? I'm just salivating thinking about it, So
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
they would do it crazy. Armor sets,
oh, yeah,
the
dude.
vistas on top of those buildings in Japan, like the old school look, and man, crazy.
Yes.
It'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, dude. But listen, before we get to the next topic, I have to do a couple of shout outs. First of all, Tempest with the outstanding $5 super chat. And he says, Metro Exodus is fantastic. It's like playing next gen now. And you're right about that. Also, I really enjoy the husband and wife dynamic. Yeah, that's good. Again, a strong story. It's a theme almost never touched upon. And that is correct. It is a strong, the one thing, the writing in that game is phenomenal. And I have to also say a big thank you to uh Ayo Greggy for the $5 super chat. Thank you for that. That's very kind of you. It's greatly appreciated. And they said, I'm really loving this positive gaming podcast. Keep up the excellent work, guys. Yes, listen, first of all, thank you for saying that. Look, here's the thing. I come on the air. I work with several people. I work with Salty. We have a fantastic dynamic. He's a little rough, and I'm kind of like the sugar and sweet. We kind of make a perfect cup of coffee, right? That's how that works.
Yep.
We're honest gamers. We don't sugarcoat anything. We kind of tell you the goods and the bads. We do not promote hate. We do not promote, just always being down. If you're new to the channel, first of all, I want to say thank you for that, because I really pride myself in putting out quality content. Like I said, this particular week, I have 4 live shows. And trust me when I tell you, I have lost a little sleep in the last couple of days trying to get everything together because, of course, I want to put out the best content for the people that, look, I have 91 people already watching live, Salty. That's incredible. So I want to make sure that if you're here, you're going to get the most quality show that you can get. So thank you for that awesome comment.
Real quick.
Yes.
Real quick. Hey, just to let you guys know, if you could share this out on your favorite social media, YouTube doesn't do us the favor anymore of just automatically sharing it out. So it'd really help out if you guys share it out. Just copy the link, send it out, and much appreciated. Much love.
Yes, well, actually, thank you for that, Salty, because I actually totally forgot that as of February 1st, they used to do it, and now they don't. And it's kind of shitty, to be honest with you. But you know what? Let's move on to the next topic. And I'm excited for this one because I have the collector's edition pre-ordered. Days Gone has the potential to be more than just another zombie game. And hearing this and seeing this in the latest trailer has me super stoked for this game. And listen, the deal is this. I'm a zombie fan, okay? Everyone knows that I'm also a fan of Sony does something with their first-party games. Now, I know that you've heard on different shows, oh my God, it's the same over the shoulder. But listen, I own 3 consoles for a reason, okay? Xbox is where I sleep at night. But the Nintendo Switch, for their exclusives, it's a must-have for me. And, of course, for Sony's PlayStation 4, their first-party games are where I enjoy going and visiting, okay? And Days Gone, very, very similar to Crackdown. Yes, they're 2 different games. One's cartoon, one's real, that real-life thing, okay? We understand it. But both games share development hell stories. Days Gone has had a significant amount of delays. This game was supposed to come out at least 3 times. And you know what? To be honest with you, I have always been on board since day one. Okay. I was a big fan of it when I first saw it. Like I was just going to say, Sony does something with their games. It's that very adult themed third person, type of game. It's gritty. It's graphically intense. But, if you look at the latest trailer, and I sent it to you, Salty, it does more than just have a guy that's a biker shooting zombies. It tells a real deep story of his wife. And like I said, this is something that we have not seen before. All we saw before is him taking out a couple of bikers in the bushes and then getting chased by hordes of zombies. And this, like I said, I've already hyped. I already have the collector's edition paid for in full. So I'm waiting for April to happen. I cannot wait for this game. But Salty, this is a kind of game that I think is going to move consoles for the PlayStation. Because it's a first party big exclusive. Ben Studios, they've been working on this shit for years, and I don't want to say this. This is my opinion only. This is kind of like a make or break for them, because they haven't had any big bangers in a long time, and this really needs to hit for them. And I don't want to see anyone, I don't want to see the company close. And I have a feeling that this is really going to do well. I'm talking like maybe 3 to 5 million well with the with the Sony crowd. But what were your takeaways from the trailer that I sent you to watch?
I think the trailer was good in the fact that it showed more of the story elements and stuff like that, because I've stated this before. The zombie genre is a very saturated genre, and there's a lot of games coming out that are either, canceling or postponing indefinitely or whatever. It's just hard to stand out in this niche market, or this market as a zombie game in today's day and age. You got to do something that's not really done in other games. It has to be different per se. So here's the deal. I've stated that I'm not really into this game per se. If you know, when I get a PlayStation, am I going to pick it up? Probably not. I understand that people are interested in it for different reasons, but the thing is like when you have two games that are very similar, it's kind of like movies that are similar, you know, like you got to have something that is different or there's a reason for you to want to purchase it. So like they have two big zombie type games over there at PlayStation. So what is going to motivate me to purchase this game beyond it, you know, having hordes of zombies? So you have The Last of Us, you know what I'm saying? Like there's that zombie game. And then you have this zombie game that's story oriented, you know, it's a single player game. So it's interesting how this game needs to make its own mark or stand out on its own. Does that make sense to you? Like,
no, it makes perfect sense, dude. It really does make perfect sense. Listen, again, I really feel like I don't have to always say it, but I feel like I kind of do. Not every game is for every gamer.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, you did hit on something. You know, obviously we're in 2019. And there were some talks about, you know, The Last of Us 2 possibly hitting in 2019. Folks, I'm going to say this. Look, I'm all on board for The Last of Us 2. I have the first one was amazing. I have the collector's statue with Joel and Ellie literally 5 inches from where I'm sitting doing the show. I am a fan. I'm looking forward to it. The video they've showed at numerous E3s. It gets me excited. But, you know, Salty, you talked about this a couple of Xbox Nations ago, if I believe, where they were still hiring for people to help develop the game. So I don't think that's going to happen. So I think Days Gone, it has an advantage. It's coming out earlier in the year and without the looming behemoth, if you will, of The Last of Us 2, I think it could live. I think without having that coming out at the end of 2019, it can have its legs. Now again, look, the game again, it's been in development a long time. A lot of people wrote it off. There's no doubt about it. You know, a lot of Sony fans are excited. A lot of console fans like myself are excited. But I see your point. You make a really good, strong argument, dude.
Yeah, because you know how like Dying Light has those elements of parkour, it does different things, and then we just had the Resident Evil 2 remake. There's just a lot of zombie offerings out there. So I'm not hating on the game per se. It's just I'm not seeing much that is going to separate this from other zombie genres per se. Like if I'm going to pick and choose, I understand they're going to be coming out a good amount of time in between each other. So The Last of Us in this game, so it gives the consumer more time to kind of rest themselves when it comes to zombie genres. But like, what if you just played Resident Evil 2? I know you did, or, you know, you picked up some other zombie games. You might be a little bit tired of the genre per se. Plus, they had some issues with performance, and I don't know if those have, that's been resolved or not.
Yes.
Because, we still got to see it come out on the console and see how it performs, so.
Well, I mean, listen, I just got to give a shout out to G-Man 1172. And I saw him put in the chat. He goes, "They're called freakers, okay?" And yes, that's what they're called. They're not zombies. They're actually freakers. Listen, neither here or there. They're dead, so, and they're causing trouble. So, yeah, you know what? You really said something I actually forgot to put into the show notes. So the trailer we saw looked amazing. Like I said, it tells that about his wife. They show the church. They show when they get married. Then obviously, him reminiscing is broken up by people trying to kill him. So the element of just being freakers that to be afraid of is not, because the human element is there. Very, very similar to The Walking Dead, right? It's not the only, the dead is not the only one to fear. You got to fear the living as well, because people want your shit and they're going to try and kill you for it. So there's a good element there that isn't usually explored. I mean, you do see that in Dying Light. Dying Light was obviously that was you had to trade with people. There were people, people that were trying to hurt you as well as the zombies. but at the same time, this really goes at it at a different angle. But the performance, the video prior to this one going up, when they were showing it off at different avenues, it did have a bit of some trouble. I'm
Mhm.
hoping that they, if they have to listen, if there are too many, freakers on the screen, they're going to have to lower the amount. I don't necessarily know how that's going to translate from what they originally showed and what we're going to get. But needless to say, I'm super stoked. And like I said, at some point or another, you're going to get yourself a PS4. You're going to have a lot of catching up. Who knows? This might actually, this might fall into your wheelhouse at one time or another. But keeping with PlayStation, and I saw this story, and I'm laughing trying to read it out because a lot of Sony fans got really angry. PlayStation praises Nintendo and Microsoft and Microsoft's Xbox teams as he calls for unification. And in truth, Salty, I'm actually really stoked to see this. This story I pulled from, again, comicbook.com, one of my favorite sites. PlayStation's own Sean Layden had been very talkative lately about the Sony brand, and among his comments about cross-platform play, where the PlayStation 3 went wrong, and a few other important things, he talked about Nintendo and Xbox in a positive light, and people got really pissed off at this. I don't know. First of all, I don't understand why you would get mad if he's praising other companies. I think he's kind of taking a book right out of Phil Spencer's playbook, if you want to be completely honest. And this is what he had to say, and I found it very interesting, Salty. I want to get your opinion on it. He goes, sure, we all compete for attention to further this industry, but we do so to keep the video gaming landscape vibrant and essential. And he talked about this during an interview with GameInformer.com. He says, the truth about Nintendo and Microsoft, we have the power to bring people joy, inspiration, respite. We have the ability to transport them to new worlds and provide them with superpowers. As developers, we do not compete against one another. We all craft art, and art is founded on the creative level, not the competitive. So that's a strong statement from this. Listen, let me tell you something. I know a lot of people break this poor guy's balls about him wearing the tight suits, and I said this, I think might have been last week. Leave Short Lane alone with his weight. All right, okay, wears tight suits, whatever. But I have to be honest with you. If you're a Sony fan, this guy walks down the street, you got to stand up and applaud him, because listen, he is a great face for the PlayStation brand. I happen to really dig him, and you know what? Reading this article, I actually became more of a fan of him because of it. What are your takeaways from what he had to say, dude?
So I saw this interview. He had a lot of nuggets of information in this. A lot. You know, we
Yes,
talked about it.
we could do a 3 hour
Yeah,
show on what he
yeah,
said.
like it's crazy. But I think the number one point that this kind of focuses on, or you can focus on as a gamer, is that a lot of these console warriors out there that think that it's just this big, hey, it's us versus them mentality. That doesn't really exist with these dudes. We saw it at the gaming awards. They all stood up together for the first time. I'm sure these dudes know each other, have each other's numbers. They do, lunch or dinner, chat and all this stuff. It's not the way it is on Twitter with some of these console warriors with this console war bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys know about the industry. They know where it's heading. And it's interesting to see his remarks, just as you said, it sounded almost, if you cut the name out of the article, right, and people didn't know who's speaking, like they just read, right, and they don't have any context. Some people would think that this was Phil Spencer speaking.
Exactly. Yes.
So that in itself just kind of speaks volumes, because I've never really heard this from Sony before. Like, they've stood out on their own. They're kind of do their own things. Like, like with the crossplay, they were the last people to get on board with that and all this other stuff, right? It's kind of like them on the outside and everybody else, but it seems like they're trying to be more inclusive. They're trying to break down barriers. I think that they understand that crossplay is going to be a standard feature going forward. And, some of these other things, like Google's getting involved in gaming, and some other bigger players per se, like Amazon and stuff. So I think Sony sees the writing on the wall, like, hey, it's not going to pay off to be these outsiders. We need to be, kind of teaming up here if we're going to, stay in business per se. They're not at risk right now. So don't take my words out of context, but it's just, you're going to have some new players and some new ways of making revenue in the gaming industry. So you kind of have to evolve and change. And I think that Sean Layden understands the importance of building bridges instead of blowing them up and not having any resources, So I think he sees what Nintendo's doing with Microsoft and the power of that relationship. And I think that, going forward, the industry's changing. We're going into cloud streaming and we're going into cross-play, cross-progression. Times are different. Times are changing. It's not the same, hey, we just have one standard console in a box that you play all your games in, and that's exclusive to that box. That's changing, So
Yes.
I think he's just preparing for that,
Well, you know what? Considering that this ridiculous console war is still waging on social media, literally all day long, Salty, on places like Twitter, I find stories like this within the industry extremely refreshing, to be honest. And the keyboard cowboys and the toxic MFers, because I don't like the curse, as they're known as, on these social media sites, must be rolling on the floor hearing positive stories coming. Sony, for everything that they do, they're not the evil empire. And of course, there are toxic people. Understand this, and I want this to be very clear. When you talk about toxic, people immediately translate that, it's a Sony fanboys. It's not. There's a toxic community that rolls within the Xbox and, believe it or not, the Nintendo areas. So everyone, if you're a toxic person, regardless of what console flag you fly, you're still a toxic person. It doesn't matter. It doesn't immediately make it a Sony problem. But I just want to read one other statement from this article, because, like I said, Salty, we could be here all day. This was a really strong interview, and he, like I said, it could be a 3-hour show, but we got to move on in a second. The two excerpts that I pulled out, I happened to really thought there was some strong substance behind them. He says the gaming industry is at an inflection point, at a moment when we're shedding our youth and becoming a cultural lodestone. The community has grown because gamers don't grow out of gaming any longer. We have a lot more folks with gray hair now than we used to, myself included. We do not see gamers as games as a childish thing to be put away. We embrace gaming as an art form of our generation, as the most powerful form of expression. Holy shit, dude. Let me tell you something. I praise Phil Spencer all the time. He's one of my favorite gaming media people. He really is. This statement right here, saying it right now, just gave me goosebumps, because he's talking from a human perspective. Am I crazy to say that, Salty?
If I can get my mute button unmuted. Yeah, man. I have gray hair in my beard, man. My daughter gives me a lot of gray hairs every day, But yeah, like, why would we put down gaming as a hobby? We grew up with this, and it's the best entertainment media out there. Like, don't at me on Twitter, man. I'm telling you, dude. You get to interact with your medium of choice. Like, how does it get better than that? Like, personally, as a gamer, I've just kind of given up sports because it's like it didn't give enough back to me, So I'm like all in on gaming. So it's either I'm watching movies with my wife, or I don't really watch TV anymore. Like, if I have free time, I'm gonna use it like gaming. Like, my daughter loves gaming. My wife's kind of getting into it. I just think it's the perfect entertainment medium, honestly. And you look at the revenue streams out there. You look at like how much Red Dead Redemption 2 made. In a weekend, outgrossing a lot of these blockbuster movies. The Call of Duty franchise, a lot of people hate it, but it's outgrossing the Avengers franchise and Star Wars and all this other stuff. So the proof's in the pudding out there, folks. Analytics wise, it's just all these, like I said before, all these big players out there, Google, Amazon, they see it. They see where entertainment is going, and there's a lot of money to be had in the gaming industry, because like he's saying, people aren't giving it up. They've been in this, they've been playing games since they were, young, like us, right? For years and years and
Yeah.
decades. And then we have kids, and then they play games, and everybody's playing games at this point, mobile, PC, console, it doesn't matter. That's why it's all coming together, right? With this cloud streaming and play anywhere, that's the connection here, folks. Instead of millions of gamers, we're talking about billions of gamers,
Yes.
so you could just imagine where that goes, right? So it makes sense to me.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. And you know what? Before I move on to the next topic, I want to say a big, ginormous thank you to Jay Primo for the outstanding $10 super chat. Thank you so much. That is extremely kind of you. He says, "You guys are awesome. LOL. Keep up the great work." And no, actually, we appreciate those sentiments, but you guys in the chat, you're awesome. Because like I happened to read one that wasn't someone in the chat. I'm not going to mention because again, I don't name shame. You're entitled to your opinion. If you don't like what we're doing, I highly encourage you hit the thumbs down button and just move on. If this show isn't for you, well, it's not for you. There are plenty of the shows that that might fall into your wheelhouse, so to speak. But yes, Jay Primo, thank you for that. That's very kind of you. Also, I will, being that I've already said, hit the thumbs down button if you don't like the show. I highly encourage that if you do like the show, please do me a favor. Do Salty a favor when it's on his channel next week. Hit that like button. It literally doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It's like you're not getting a needle in school, all right? You're not going to the doctor. It's just press the button if you like the content. And if you don't, look, I'm not going to tell you not to hit the like button. If you like the content, hit it. If you don't, hit the thumbs down and just kind of, go do what you got to do. But the thumbs up button, a lot of people don't understand how important that is for content creators. The more thumbs up we get, something with the algorithm, it puts us in a different wavelength when we're on these, on YouTube, and more people get a chance to check out the content that they may not have heard of. There are millions and millions of content creators, and right now, me and Salty, we're small. So any help that we can get from the community is greatly appreciated. But Salty, let's move on to the next topic. And again, I try to do these topics for the fans, but I also do them for myself because I'm a big kid. I'm a big video game nerd. I don't care. Capcom, one of my all-time favorite companies, released the monster known as Resident Evil 2, right? The game shipped 3 million copies in 7 days. It's a huge success for the company. Again, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because I beat the game 4 times. I beat it with Leon scenario A and B, Claire A and B, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to beat it again. But right now, there's just too many games. So I got my four plays in. I'm very happy with my rankings, but I want to unlock all the unlimited, handgun, shotgun, and the rocket launcher, and I'm going to do that. But Capcom having this big success, selling all of these copies, bringing back one of the best Resident Evil games in the franchise, are not sitting on their hands on this one, Salty. They just released free DLC called The Ghost Survivors, where it was released on Friday night. And Friday, we know what came out. Friday was ridiculous for games. But this Ghost Survivors is basically, it's short. It is short, but it tells the story of 3 civilians from Raccoon City that we've never seen before. This is completely new to the series. And on top of that, they added a second free DLC that allows you to play as the character models from 1998 for both Claire and Leon. Look, let me just say this. In the day and age where microtransactions rule the roost, and we know a lot of us go on these shows and we have our own opinions on microtransactions. If this would have been paid for DLC, I'm going to be honest with you, I probably would have bought it because I'm such a Resident Evil fan. But Capcom is giving it away, and I think that that in itself is a story that we can talk at least 15 minutes about. But Resident Evil 2 is a hit, and this DLC comes. I mean, look, it released January 25th here in the States, and we're not even a month removed, and they're giving us free DLC. What are your takeaways on Capcom that giving the players more to do in this single player experience?
I think it's awesome. I think it's pro-consumer as hell. If they wanted to, if they wanted to be penny pinching, they could have said, "Hey, we're making hand over fist money here with how popular this game is. Nostalgia's a hell of a drug." I'm quoting my good friend Mooch. People love this game. They snatched it up, so they made their money. Right? They made tons of money off of this, but they didn't rest on their laurels. They're like, "Hey, what can we do for the consumer to add value to this, to give back to the gamer," which I totally appreciate. Like when it comes to these publishers, a lot of times that we're getting this negative information. Oh, what can the publisher do to screw us over next, right? Microtransactions, loot boxes, paid DLC, this and that. But this is the opposite of that, and that's why we should give them credit and praise when credit is due, because they didn't have to do this, right? They could have just did the minimum, the bare minimum. You pay us your $60, we go about our business, right? But they didn't, and I think it's exciting for the fans because they get more content. And who doesn't like more content for free, right? I mean, it is what it is. So I personally, this is a game that's still on my list. I've had so much to play. You know how it is, right? You got to pick the games that you can play and what you need to play, and then you go about your business. So I'm going to be playing this. And I'm excited that there's more content, obviously. So,
and there's more to come, which is awesome. I mean, this isn't it, folks. Capcom has stated that other DLC is going to be heading over to Resident Evil 2. Now, obviously, there's a lot to do in the game, and besides playing as Claire, both scenarios, and Leon, there's Tofu from the original. There's the fourth survivor, which is Hunk, known as Mr. Death. I have heard on the 4chan forums that an Ada Wong side story is going to be heading to Resident Evil 2. Now, I don't have any confirmation from Capcom for that, but the source that I got it from was completely correct, who leaked all of the Resident Evil 2 information a year before it was released. So I'm going to say that, yes, that could be a possibility. And obviously with the sales of Resident Evil 2 being as high as they were, there has now been talk of Resident Evil 3 currently in pre-production. So if you enjoyed Resident Evil 2 and you're a fan of Resident Evil 3 like I am, get ready, because Resident Evil 8 is on the way, and Resident Evil 3, the remake, should be coming sooner than later. But you know what? I agree with you. You said something about the nickel and diming. That really should have led out the topic, simply because when you talk about nickel and diming, for me anyway, for a gamer who tries to buy everything, who's heavily invested in every genre for gaming, EA and Activision would have charged you $10 and $15 for this DLC, whereas Capcom is basically just saying, thanks for playing our game, thanks for buying our game, here's some free DLC on PS. By the way, there's more coming. And you don't really see that often, Salty. So that's also, I mean, again, that's a topic in itself. But if you have nothing else, I'd like to move on to the next topic. And you know what? We're going to kind of roll this back around. And you know what? As a host, I probably should have segued into this. Sean Layden says PSVR will see a dramatic change in the next 10 years and makes me a very happy gamer, simply because I'm a huge fan of the PlayStation VR. Yes, I understand that it only has about maybe 3% of the player base of the nearly 100 million consoles sold across the world. I happen to be one of those 3 million people. As a matter of fact, I bought it twice. I bought the original one on launch day with every game, loved the hell out of it. And then the following year, when they released the updated version where they had the HDR pass-through, I rebought it, sold the old one privately, and rebought it again to have the HDR pass-through, so I could see HDR on the TV as well. And I love it. I think that in the last originally, mid life cycle of the PlayStation VR, there really wasn't a lot of content coming out. So I was a little nervous. I was afraid that this was going to go the way of the PlayStation Vita, which I also own. And it didn't. The last couple of months have seen some really, really big games in the form of, the Tetris a VR game, which is amazing. You had so many games in the last few months. It really told me that Sony was doubling down. And in this interview with Game Informer, this is what he had to say on VR, which got me excited because there's been talk that the PSVR 2.0 will be releasing. I don't know if it's going to launch, but it's going to be releasing with the PlayStation 5, and of course, I will be buying that. He says, by the same token, when you look at the PlayStation VR right now, none of us are going to be able to imagine what it will look like in 10 years from now, but the change will be that dramatic. You can't get to 5.0 unless you get to 1.0. It's just the nature of the business. Salty, he's, again, great interview. I don't know what your takes on PlayStation VR, but are you happy to see that Sony isn't abandoning this like they did some of their other peripherals?
All right. I don't know if you guys have heard my takes on VR. I don't think it's a good fit in the console space at this point. Because of the hardware restrictions, especially this generation. I think it was kind of a half measure per se with the VR, because it's been proven in order to have a limitation on motion sickness in these VR devices, you need to have a stable frame rate, and I think it's at 120 frames per second is the juicy spot, the good spot there for VR systems. And plain and simple, they aren't doing that. This is like below what you need for PlayStation VR. I know there's some titles out there that people enjoy, but I think, like he said, you got to have a beginning to have a 5.0 per se. So in that respect, if you are a fan of VR, I'm not crapping on you. I think it's good for you, but for me as a consumer, the content isn't there, and I don't think it will be there. And what the problem with having a first party peripheral, we saw it with the Kinect, right? Sometimes it can distract you from your main goal, and a lot of times you can get distracted. And I could see a repeat of the mistakes made, because this happens in the console space. Sometimes people repeat the failures of previous regimes or previous consoles, right? They don't see history repeats itself a lot of the times. And a lot of these console manufacturers or these companies, they get all high and mighty, and they feel like they can never do wrong or they can't make mistakes. And that's when they make the mistakes, right? We saw that in the beginning of the generation with Xbox.
Let's correct.
Connect. Let's push all of our resources into the games. Like Rise was a Kinect game at one point. See, like there's problems there, and that led to the downfall of Kinect. So if the VR situation for PlayStation isn't handled correctly, it could lead to a huge negative next generation, because none of these companies are too big to fall. We saw that with Nintendo and the Wii U. We saw that Xbox with this generation. PlayStation 3 had issues. So I think that if they do it right, that's fine. And if they improve on the technology, that's fine. But if it's like baked into the console and it's forced, or it increases the price of the system, or it takes away from resources of making actual games that are on the console, I don't think it's going to be good. And that's why I think that Microsoft is taking the correct approach, because I just read another interview from a very reliable source that's been trying to talk to the higher ups at Microsoft and getting information like, hey, next generation, you guys doing VR. Microsoft has no interest in doing a first party peripheral at all.
Correct. Yes. Actually, Phil Spencer has said that publicly. Yeah.
So if people are hoping that Microsoft's going to hop on board and follow suit, it's not happening. Okay. They don't even have interest in third party VR from what I've read. HoloLens might be a thing, but I wouldn't expect even support for VR on the next gen console for Xbox. So this could separate PlayStation from the pack. Like if their sales increase and I'm wrong, and I think that, I'm saying this is not a big thing even next generation. If it is, that's a feature that Microsoft doesn't have or Nintendo doesn't have. So it separates the PlayStation brand further. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's a risk reward situation. You got to take risks in the business. And I think this could either be really, really good or not so good for PlayStation, considering Sony does not have the resources and monetary value that Microsoft has. They're nearing $1 trillion. So there's more leeway for error there, right? But Sony, on the other hand, they don't have $1 trillion. You know what I'm saying? They got to make the right, correct decisions with their money. So if this fails, it's not going to be good for the company, So
Yeah, I mean, look, there's been several talks behind the scenes of them in having the finger motions in development instead of using the move controllers. I've heard that. You've already seen that something very similar to that on Oculus and the other VR units. Look, I'm going to say this, there's a reason why I support multiple consoles. Certainly not because I'm rich, not even by a long shot. But at the same time, I'm a gamer. At the end of the day, sure, I'm an Xbox first gamer, so I play all my third party games. But at the same time, I do enjoy supporting all three consoles, and it's one thing that Sony has that Microsoft doesn't, and that's VR. Yes, the unit was originally a little pricey at $500, but I was in on the ground floor. And obviously listen, I think you could pick up a VR unit for $200 now. So if you were interested, check out the videos. VR isn't for everyone. Salty said it. There is that motion sickness aspect that does affect some people. Thankfully, it didn't bother me. And I've had such a really good time with it, dude. I hate to say this, but I'd love to see them come back and bring out like a virtual cop. The old Sega stuff. Give me a House of the Dead in 3D. With the gun that came with that other first person shooter game that I have. I can't believe I forgot the name of it, but it's give me something like that and I'm in, because I don't know if anyone played Super Hot in VR. My God, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. But listen, VR isn't for everyone. It is an expensive peripheral. And some people could actually get motion sickness from it. So if you get motion sickness, it's probably not for you. But Sote, I want to kind of move on to the next topic. Earlier in the show, we had mentioned EA and Activision. When you mention those people, you think of this kind of the scummy parts of gaming, right? We know that they do a lot of firings and budget cuts, and they nickel and dime the consumer to the point of nauseum. But in a story that I pulled from comicbook.com, once again, folks, you can see I go there a lot for my information. Cyberpunk 2077 will not have not only microtransactions, but a battle royale mode. And I'm even though that is funny, I actually wrote that. I laughed when I was actually writing the topics. I'm actually happy to hear it, to be honest with you. The information I'm going to read came from the official Twitter account of Cyberpunk. And it made a slew of confirmations while interacting with various fans of the social media platform. At Cyberpunk Game wrote, "Will there be microtransactions also getting so hyped for the game?" Inside the official Twitter account responded with, "Micro what?" And that, of course, we know CD Projekt Red. They are the gaming darlings of the industry. We know what they did with Witcher 3. Salty, you remember they released, I think it was either 10 or 12 weeks of free DLC. Every week was a new DLC pack. They don't believe in nickel and diming the customer. They say, buy the game, play the game. That's what you get. And the DLC that you're probably going to get is probably going to be free in the same lines as, of course, The Witcher 3, which is considered the game of the generation for many. But the developers were very chatty with fans, Salty. And here's some of the other tweets. AXU 08021805 wrote, "Dear devs, will we have a female sidekick in 2077, just like Jackie? Now, since the gameplay was as a female, they wanted to know whether or not they were going to actually have, if you pick it, because you remember in 2077 you can pick male or female. It's not set to one character. So they wanted to know if you could pick a female character, and this is what Cyberpunk had. I mean, the actual official Twitter account said, Jackie is one of the companions that will just tag along during some missions, and he is one of the few. To answer your question, there won't be a female version of Jackie, but sure, there will be female companions that will show up during your playthrough. So Jackie is a dude. in Cyberpunk. And they want to know whether, and I think that was really nice of them to answer the question whether or not you pick male or female, is it going to matter? And it doesn't. But you are going to have other companions. Salty, with the company being this talkative with fans, and that's some detail I haven't read in any of the articles. Do you think that not only is it awesome that they are talking, going back and forth with fans, but more importantly, do you think we get Cyberpunk 2077 in 2019?
It sounds like a lot of detail. First of all, I want to touch upon this. The microtransaction situation, I think it doesn't. First of all, it's their decision, and I think it separates them from the pack. If you put, a pro-consumer move like this in there and say, we're not going to have it, I think that's awesome. But if you look at the way this game is, it's first person, right? I believe.
Right.
So I don't even think that microtransactions would work in this game. Like, how would you even have them in there? I mean, you could have the Destiny situation where you emote, but why would you even do that if it's a single player game? Who are you showing off your skins or emotes to? You can emote to yourself or try to see your skins yourself. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense in this game. So I can see where they're coming from for this, and I think that's a cool move. And then on the other hand, with the amount of detail that they're coming out with on this game, could it come out in 2019? Yeah, I think it could come out, but I think would it be beneficial to wait until 2020? I think so. I mean, I don't know, man, maybe the holiday season of 2019 could make sense for this game, pack it in there with all the other games so people their wallets go empty and dry in the same. I think the industry is doing better in spacing the release dates out for some of these games. Like, we're seeing games released in March and April and May now, and before, like, it was either you drop it in the holiday season or and then you have this huge gap in between there, but now people are spacing it out. But long story short, I still think it's coming out in 2020, man. So
well, I mean, listen, there's a couple of interesting points here. First of all, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be it. I mean, it might be the biggest game the company has ever put together, and The Witcher was big. I mean, you played The Witcher. Did you beat The Witcher 3? Salty?
sorry about that. Yeah, I beat The Witcher 3.
All right, so
it took me forever, but I beat it. It's a hell of a game, man.
Well, I mean, listen, what they're saying is that the Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be huge. Needless to say, whether or not it's going to be bigger than Witcher 3, I don't know. I know that it's going to have boroughs or districts very similar to New York City, where we have 5 boroughs. They're going to have actually 6 of them. And the world is going to be big. It's going to be ultra detailed. I actually had my doubts on if these consoles could actually pull it off. And I'm kind of with you in the sense that if this was released on a launch PS5 and Xbox Anaconda, they could push the boundaries in ways that we've never seen. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to wait until the end of 2020 to play this game. I would love to see this go cross-generational. Very similar to what Sony did with The Last of Us 1, where it was released on the PlayStation 3, and then they had an updated version on the PlayStation 4 very early in its life cycle. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to say this. Regardless of whatever year it comes out, you can almost guarantee, very similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, this is going to be Game of the Year by every outlet from this side of the universe. No one is going to discount this. I don't think, as big as this game is going to be, as rabid as the fan base is already for the game, and I've always seen is 48 minutes of gameplay, this has Game of the Year written on it, regardless of what year it comes out, Salty.
It's true. I mean, write it down, it's crazy. This thing's going to blow up, man. I'm interested to see what kind of sales numbers it puts out. I think it's going to be similar to Red Dead. Red Dead 2 came out and boom, blowing up numbers and stuff. But hey, another single player game gonna kill the industry, So,
yes, yeah, actually, that's right. I mean, if you remember about maybe 12 months ago, Salty, apparently single player progressions were dead.
Yeah,
and games like this prove that they're not. But you know what? I want to move on to the next topic. Big shout out to nearly 150 people watching live. That is crazy. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. You're going to dig this topic. I know you are because you're a big fan. Apex Legends.
Yep.
According to several people in a story that I pulled from Kotaku.com, say that the skin prices are too damn high and they seem unattainable. Now, listen, I've played Apex Legends. I think it's a fantastic game. I don't play Battle Royale games, so it was that good that it got me roped in. Now, I have not played it in a couple of, I want to say maybe a week, simply because, you know what, I've been playing Crackdown, which I beat over the weekend. I'm knee deep into Metro. I haven't even picked up Anthem. I want to play Far Cry New Dawn. It's just, there's not enough time, even for a retired dude, to play these games. But I wanted to, I specifically brought this story to light because Salty apparently goes to sleep each and every night with a win in Apex Legends. And I wanted to get your opinion on whether or not the skins are that overpriced and out and unattainable, which is being reported by some. What are your takes on this, dude?
All right, my take's gonna probably trigger some people. They're gonna be like, "Oh my God, how can he side with EA?" Or here's the deal: when the game comes out and it's free to play, it's free, right? I mean, you're getting it for free. This game runs and plays better than the $60 version of Call of Duty Black Ops.
Yep.
Blackout. So at that, if you're looking at that from that perspective, you've already saved $60 that you would have paid out potentially for this game. Okay. If it was packaged the same way as Blackout. So the thing is when there's free to play games, if you like the game and you're getting hours and hours of fun out of it, support the developer. You know what I'm saying? I'm not forcing you to, or telling that you have to spend money on it. I haven't personally spent money on Apex yet, but do I want to support Respawn? Yeah, I do. I feel like they deserve it. So when people are bitching and complaining about how expensive the skins are, I think they got to take a step back and say, well, I'm getting this game for free, and if I want to support the developer, I kind of take that into account here. Now, if this was, Call of Duty Black Ops, Blackout, look at their prices for they're charging $1 for a red dot, I believe. So
yes, yeah.
You take it in perspective.
Yes, it is.
This is a free to play game, kind of like Warframe. I like Warframe. That's a free to play game, and they provide means to earn everything or whatever. But to a lot of people, they're not willing to go through those steps to get those items. So they just pay for them, you know what I'm saying? Because it's free. That's the whole idea behind the free-to-play game. They want to get you into the door for free. They want you to enjoy the product. And then if you do, then you'll spend money on the microtransactions. This is how they make their money. It's kind of the same thing with mobile games. It's like you play those for free, and eventually you hit a wall where you're like, you need to buy stuff or like invite your friends and spam them on Facebook, that annoying shit.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it is what it is, man. I just think it's just the way of the beast per se for free to play games,
Well, you know what? A lot of people don't know this. The Apex Legends already got its first update on the 13th of February. And with it came the Valentine's Day themed cosmetics. You know what? Like I said, I really enjoy when these developers, support the holidays with their games. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously you're playing a game. We know it's a game. But, having Christmas themes and Halloween themes and Valentine's Day and stuff like that, I think it really brings a cool part of immersion in, it merges real life and gaming in a way that you don't see in the movies, you don't see on other, different social media where a lot of people spend their time. And I thought that was really cool. I purchased, like, if you're an EA Access member, they gave you 1,000 coins. So I wound up buying a character. And I've earned some coins. Again, I have not been playing as much, and I still bought a couple of skins myself with what little coin that I made. I don't really think that they're that outrageous, to be honest with you. And at the same time, I know I saw a report where the character skins, I think, are 12,000 coins. And they sell the coins. I think 10,000 coins is equivalent of $10. So you'd have to buy an additional one to get that skin. Look, The Fortnite skins are $20.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, look, I'm not saying this
And
is
then
better. Go ahead.
now look at Overwatch. That's a
Yeah,
$60
yes,
game, and I
yeah.
don't even know how much those skins are, but they're pretty pricey when you can
Well, they're
buy
loot
those.
crates, dude. You can't even
Yeah,
pick
you
them.
gotta get them in loot crates, or
Yeah.
you know, it is what it is. So you get to pick your skin you want. You don't have to buy a loot box. I mean, come on, guys.
Look, I mean, this is what I like to say about this whole thing. Again, I am not defending EA by any stretch of the truth. They're a terrible company at times. They really are. I play this game, and I will eventually buy a skin or two, not for EA. I'm doing this because I'm supporting Respawn Entertainment. Vince Impella and his team. I'm a huge Titanfall fan. I again, this is a kind of a wish well, kind of drop that quarter in the thing, hoping that this happens. But my opinion, being in gaming as long as I have, if this does well, and it's doing extremely well right now, I'm hoping that this opens the door to support a Titanfall 3. That's my goal. So if I have to drop $10 here or there to play a game that I actually really enjoy, I'm not throwing my money away like I have the money to burn.
Mhm.
But I really enjoy the game, and I don't play battle royale games at all. I hated PUBG. I don't like Fortnite. I did not buy Black Ops 4 because it didn't have single player. So I've kind of I've tipped my toe into it, and like, Matt, the water's too cold. I jumped head first into this because it was within the Titanfall universe. I'm a fan, got a taste for it. I'm like, okay, this is really good. I mean, look, this came out of nowhere. I still say how they kept this a secret, Salty, blows my mind in the days of leaks and reveals before a game is supposed to come out. And everything about it is just quality. The shooting, the movement, the guns. I look, I'm gonna say this: if you don't want to support them, don't spend any money. Just play the game and earn earn in-game coin. It's going to take you a while to get a skin, but if you really enjoy the game, then you don't mind dropping a few bucks here and there. I mean, am I crazy for
Yeah,
saying that,
yeah.
Salty?
So here's the deal, like piggybacking off of that whole Titanfall situation. So the player base on Titanfall 2 was pretty much dwindled to nothing before this game released. And then after it launched, the player base in Titanfall 2 actually exploded, you know.
Yep. Yes.
It was one of the higher played games on Xbox, and I believe PlayStation as well. So it gives, plausibility to that fact that they're saying, hey, these people are seeing that there's quality product out there by these developers, and then they start playing Titanfall, and then they start seeing those numbers, and they say, hey, I think that we can do Titanfall 3 now because this game's so popular and it's in that universe. So if you want to see a Titanfall 3, you should be happy that Apex is doing very well, So
Yeah, you know what, and you know what, I want to continue with Apex Legends because I'm going to segue into what some data miners uncovered within the code. And first of all, let me tell you, I love stories like this because I have no idea how to program a game. I have no idea. I'm a dummy. Like I just pay my money and I play the game. And you know what? I actually, with my brother Neo Mental, we signed up to go to school together for to learn how to make games. I backed out. And he continued forward. Now he doesn't make games for a living, but he works with computers and programs and design and artwork. He does that for a living. I decided to pull back because I didn't want to know what was behind the curtain. I still wanted to have that Disneyland kind of a feeling. And that's why I never got into it. So when I read stories like, what data miners are able to find, I get excited because they're able to see things I could never imagine seeing because I wouldn't know what to look for. Well, apparently, they uncovered actually, there's going to be a survival mode as well as hover tanks being added. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. Hover tanks? What are you talking about? Well, this story I pulled from PCGamer.com. They write, diligent data miners continue to root out all of Apex Legends' secrets, along with the possibility of solo and duo modes, which everyone has been asking for, and we know that they're on the way. But it also looks like there's going to be a survival mode And that should be that should also be announced very soon. Now, the person that's responsible for this is Apex DBR. Discovered references to both survival and team death modes in Apex Legends files. At the moment, the game only contains a squad mode and on a single massive map. And also, Real Apex Leaks did a bit more digging and uncovered an additional details shared with gamingintel.com. According to the files, Salty, the survival mode will feature an NPC crowd that reacts to players by cheering them on, giving standing ovations, and booing. Come on! I mean, that's amazing. You already see your character up on the scoreboard when you're winning, or if you're the champion. Also, Salty, and I think you're going to find this. A lot of people want more than the 8 characters that are available, and according to this data mine, they found 2 more. And I'm very excited for this. But again, taking a guy who doesn't play these battle royale games, if I'm excited, Salty, you got to be through the roof with this.
Oh yeah, man. Here's the deal. If you want to, you look no further than Fortnite for an example of what you can do. I know a lot of people don't like that game, but the fact is they're making millions and millions of dollars and upping their value of their company by billions. The thing is you got to have content updates regularly. You got to have events. You got to have things that rotate and change, because the plain and simple of it, BR is very repetitive at its core. So, people will play it and they will continue to play it, but they need to have things to go after and seek after. So new skins, new weapons, new emotes. I know they don't really have emotes in Apex, but you get the point, right? So when they're adding content, that's awesome. They have this roadmap lined out, and I know that they already are going to be releasing a new gun. New heroes. It's the perfect scenario for this game. They have everything at their fingertips and their disposal to continue this as a games as a service and continue to grow the player base and keep it vibrant, like for Fortnite per se, because it's a free to play game. People will get in there that don't normally play it, like yourself. And if you have these events, it will get some of the people that get tired of just the same old. Hey, we're doing the BR on the same map and whatever. You change it up. You throw a new game mode in there. You throw some new skins in there, new guns. Have an event for a holiday, Valentine's event or Christmas or this and that. And then it gets people to come back. So I think it's a perfect model. I think it's a model that you see in other games like Overwatch and some other things. So it's kind of an industry standard, but you have the battle pass to grind after, and then these new game modes. So I think this game is just going to continue to grow,
Yeah, I'm happy for Respawn. We know that they have a Star Wars game on the horizon that is supposed to be released in holiday of 2019, and with that's apparently it's supposed to be really good. And Titanfall 2's single player campaign is any indication of what they can do. It's Vince Zampella, folks. We know what he did with the Call of Duty games. And, obviously, Infinity Ward has not been the same since they left. There's no doubt about it, regardless of whether you're a fan of Call of Duty or not. But real quick on the Apex Legends topic, Salty, the 2 new legends that are supposed to be released are called Octane and Watson. And they reference Telsa and Stim. And I think what those are referring to as their actual abilities. And if Stim is from Titanfall. So listen, let me just say this. This game came out of nowhere. It took the world by storm. It actually reminded me of the time where, if you remember, now this is going back a while, folks, when Buster Douglas entered the ring against Mike Tyson and knocked him out and knocked him on his ass. He didn't expect it. No one expected it. It took the world by storm, and he won the championship. And I'm not saying that Apex is curb stomping Fortnite, but you have to admit, Salty, they really took them by surprise. As a matter of fact, and I'm sure if you saw this because I didn't put it in the show notes. Apparently, the new season of Fortnite is being given away for free. the battle pass to some players. I've seen people posting it on Twitter, and I guess maybe they saw a significant drop in the player base.
Yeah. Yeah, and we talk about this all the time. Competition is key in business, and Fortnite doesn't have competition, or they don't feel like anybody's pushing them. They don't get pushed to do this, and this is a direct correlation to Apex's success. Fortnite wouldn't have any reason to drop the game, but their battle pass for free. You have to do some challenges to get it, but yeah, this is to get their player base back. Hey, we're giving you an incentive. Come back to our game, forget Apex. Let's do this Fortnite situation. So yeah, competition's good. You shouldn't not want competition, especially in the console space, So I think this is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, look, all I can say is that the game is going to get better. They're going to keep adding, and it seems as if Fortnite has someone that's going to challenge them for the title. And like you said, competition is good. But let's move on to the next topic. Shockingly enough, the Division 2 beta set new records for Ubisoft, and this comes as a title that a lot of people were putting a poo-pooing, if you will, oh, it's going to be the Division 1 all over again. And dude, I gotta be honest with you, I put 20 plus hours into this beta, and my God, everyone knows I'm a Division fan. They hooked me right back in. But what's funny is this beta broke records for them, and it was kind of like a private beta, so to speak, where you had to pre-order the game or you had to apply to get it. Now, that says something. Now, what we heard recently, Salty, is that an open beta is going to be coming very soon. So if the private beta broke records, I can only imagine what the public beta is going to break records. Now, like I said, I put 20 plus hours. And I just want to kind of read some of the information. I pulled this story from GameRevolution.com, and it says that Ubisoft has declared the Division 2 beta their most successful game beta in the company's history. The Division 2, developed by Massive Entertainment, set records for Ubisoft with the number of players taking part in the private beta. Along with the sheer numbers, participants also played an average of 5 hours of the game each time. So I mean, just think of those numbers for a second. If this game had no legs, people would have fell off immediately, but they kept coming back. According to game industry analyst Daniel Ahmad, the figures were revealed in a Ubisoft conference call. The call touched on a range of issues, but the most significant statistics came in relation to the Division 2. These milestones hitting on a beta says that I think this is going to be another huge hit for Ubisoft. What are your takeaways from the numbers, Salty?
Well, the numbers are good because ties to analytics, and I talk about that all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Your favorite, so, you love numbers, dude.
Proofs in the pudding. So it's kind of like pre-orders. They go off of pre-orders numbers, and they estimate how much sales they'll do. I think Anthem already put their predictions out there for sales figures, and you could kind of see this with the movie industry with pre-order sales and all this other stuff. They can predict how much movies are going to gross in their first couple weeks. So yeah, this was a closed beta per se. You had to pre-order the game to get in, and some people were winning it on Xbox or whatever, so that kind of skewed the numbers. But yeah, this is the second iteration in the franchise. I think that they improved upon a lot of things that kind of turned the consumer base off. So if they can, fix some of those buggy things in there, which I think they will for the most part, they're going to do this open beta. It's, they're breaking records. So that speaks volumes because they did some pretty good numbers with their first beta. I think they were breaking records there. So it's just a good thing for this franchise. Plus, I think that there's going to be some issues with Anthem when it comes to review scores. So
yes, mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the game seems like it's having issues with the way it's running and load times and load screens and story and content and end game. I don't know. I said this on Twitter. I'm kind of, my excitement level for Anthem is dwindling. You know what I'm saying? The things that I'm hearing are kind of not good, you know. So I'm not going to cancel my pre-order. I guess my game share buddy, he did it, but we're still going to be playing the game. I'm still going to do a review on it, but I'm worried about a lot of the stuff I'm hearing. So I think the Division 2 can capitalize big time off of, you know, some of the stumblings of Anthem. If it comes out of the gate and has all these issues, that player base that tries to go and play Anthem will, you know, a couple weeks later move on to the Division 2. It just happens in gaming. If you can't keep your core audience there, they'll move on to different things. So I think the Division 2 is going to do well. I think it's going to get a higher Metacritic score than Anthem at this point, from what I'm hearing. And then at this, I don't know about sales wise though. That's left to be seen. I don't know what kind of sales figures are going to be out there, so I can't really make a prediction there. I think Anthem will still sell well, but it's just a question of whether or not they can keep their audience there, you know, so we'll see.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, look, I'm very excited for Anthem. I have been from the minute they showed it, I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm an old school 80s cat, right? So when I look at Anthem, I think of Robotech, and I was like, I'm in. You know what? But I have not played. I have EA access and I have not played it. Again, folks, it's not because I don't like Anthem. It's just there's too many games. I don't like playing 6 games at once. I want to really get myself involved in the story. I destroyed Crackdown over 25 hours in that. I got half the orbs. I think I'm at like maybe 513. So I want to get the 1,000. And I'm like I said, knee deep into Metro. When I'm done with Metro, I'm heading straight into Far Cry New Dawn. I love the Far Cry series. I'll put 60 hours into that game. But Anthem, as hype as I am, I've been hearing some stuff, man. Look, the Division came out. It had its issues. They rectified it. Destiny 1 came out, had its issues. They rectified it. Destiny 2 came out, had its issues. They rectify it. These big open world games as a service. Look, it's BioWare. We know who they are. They're going to put their heart and soul into this game. And if it is buggy, if it does have some issues, hold back you're buying the game and just wait for it, because the Division 1, a lot of people left after 30 days. I didn't, but a lot of people did. And we see, they listen to the fan base. Massive Entertainment did an incredible job with 2 to 1, and Anthem it's probably gonna happen the same way. I think anyway. It's already had a little stumbles, but the game isn't broken. It's not terrible. Yeah. I'm still excited. I'm gonna play it. Salty, we're probably gonna play co-op with Mooch and a few other people, because this is one thing I like about this, is you can play 4 players. That's not a raid. I mean, if you just want to do the game, we can go out 4 people and go crazy. So I'm excited for that. But I want to move on to the next topic, and this topic brings a big smile to my face for a couple of reasons. First of all, Salty, you had said you're not a PlayStation 4 owner, but you're eventually going to take the dive, right?
Yep.
And why I find this story exciting is because, you know what? Let me just get to the story. Forget about it. I'll talk about it after. PS4, Spider-Man, and Detroit Become Human get a permanent price drop. And guess what, folks? They're only $20. I mean, holy shit, that is insane. First of all, if you hear the excitement in my voice, and you should, because I'm literally yelling into the mic. These Detroit Become Human, Spider-Man, and God of War are in my top 10 for 2018. Right now, God of War is $30. I would not be surprised if it drops down to $20, maybe in the middle of the year. Salty, when you go to buy your PlayStation 4, you might be able to logistically buy your PS4 for whatever sale price you're going to get it at, and walk away with Spider-Man, Detroit Become Human, and God of War, 3 titles that I think should be up on pedestals. Okay, for $60, and that's insane. Look, I'm going to say this. First of all, if you're a story person, don't listen to the naysayers about Detroit Become Human. The game was brilliant from start to finish. It told so many incredible stories. There was a racial undertone, not like black or white or blue, but a racial undertone with androids versus humans. The stories were deep and strong, and to me, I think it should have been talked about in Game of the Year circles, and it wasn't. The game is phenomenal from start to finish. And what could you say about Spider-Man? First of all, I'm an MCU freak master, okay? I love the MCU. Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters, and I happen to really love Insomniac Games as a developer, and this game was an effing masterpiece. Okay, so if you were on the fence about Spider-Man, if you were on the fence about Detroit Become Human, and even God of War, because listen, games are expensive. We can't, real life gets in the way. People have mortgages and rent and everything else that goes under the sun. Now is a great opportunity to jump in on these games. Salty, what are your takeaways with Sony dropping the price permanently on these games?
I think it's because tons of people have already bought these games. You know what I'm saying? It's been a good amount of time. It's just the way that these video games kind of trend. It's not because they're not popular, they didn't sell well. Not every company can have their first party titles remain at the same price as Nintendo, right? They're still selling Super Mario Odyssey at $60.
They sure are.
Places, right? So that's insane in itself. But yeah, I'm a cheap bastard, right? I got a baby coming down, and it's like if I get a PS4, like imagine, like you talked about just those games, like Horizon Zero Dawn, I could get that for like $5 now. You know what I'm saying?
I
like,
love that game, dude. I would highly recommend it. That
Bloodborne,
was so good.
Bloodborne was like a free game for PS
Yes.
Plus,
Yeah.
So you look at, if you're a late adopter, you can get this stuff for basically pennies on a dollar, right? So me, for example, if I go into buying the PlayStation 4, just a crazy amount of content for a cheap price. If I go into this, probably going to try to do it in the summertime when there's kind of not a lot of content out there, and then get all these games and stream them or do reviews or do whatever, and then give my take as an Xbox fan that hasn't had a PlayStation. You could see, the way I'm going here, but I think it's outstanding. I think it pushes people to buy these games. And like I said, not everybody has money to buy every game at $60, and this is just awesome. I've heard tons of good things about both of these games, So.
Yeah, I when I saw this, I mean, I have the games obviously, but what I'm excited and happy for the people that don't. They're going to get an opportunity to experience Spider-Man. They have the opportunity to explore a really incredible story-driven Detroit Become Human, and like I said, I'm sure God of War is going to drop down $20. And who knows? Maybe in a year from now, it'll be a PS Plus free game. Sony's been known to do stuff like that. But God of War was so amazing. I mean, that had the potential to really just take a big dump, and they didn't. And Corey Barlog and his team just completely knocked it out of the park. I actually wrote to Corey, and he actually gave me a like twice on 2 tweets to him and a retweet, which is, again, big deal for little Boomstick here. But I like I said, these 2 games, if you don't have them in your collection, my God, please go out and spend $40. It'd be the best $40 you spent in a long time. And, we're closing in on the this 90-minute mark. I do have one more story, and I hate closing out on a bit of a sour note. But Salty, last week you and I discussed the 800 people being laid off by Activision. And both of us had some real harsh words for that company. Scumbag, comes to mind, at least something I would say. And I pulled a story from PlayStationLifestyle.com. Apparently, if you thought the 800 people being laid off was bad, well, I got more bad news. Apparently, Blizzard France employees told Kotaku.com, where I pulled the story, that a fourth of the 400 people working there in Versailles are set to lose their jobs. More layoffs are coming at the with Activision, and my question to you is, when does it stop? I mean, what's good for these folks is that apparently, according to French lawmakers, it's difficult for companies to lay off employees immediately without notice. So while this may be a positive thing, people that are at this company are now kind of just walking on eggshells. And what the story said, this quote came from one of the employees from the Blizzard company in France. No one knows any details, and this is taking a big hit on the morale of the folks over here. And this employee told Kotaku this directly, but the one condition was to remain anonymous. Obviously, for they don't want to be one of the people that lose their jobs. Not knowing if you will be laid off in a few weeks or months sucks, and many people here are already updating their LinkedIn profiles because they want to be prepared for when they're told they don't have a job. Other employee LinkedIn, the situation is they compare it, Salty, to a two-edged sword, because it gives employees a time to mentally prepare for cuts and start looking for jobs elsewhere. However, it also makes things difficult because no one knows who's going to be let go and who's going to be retained. Look, let me just say this. I've said this publicly. He's no friend of mine. He's not giving Boomstick a job. I think Bobby Kotick is a heartless motherfucker. That's the one. Sorry, I had to curse, folks, but when I hear this kind of stuff, it makes me very angry, and that's when the curses come out. He seems very heartless, and I don't know the particulars, but when you start moving into the thousands of people being laid off, you have to really start to question, because we talked about last week, Salty, you brought it up. They posted record profits, bro. So this doesn't make any sense to me. You know what? I've said enough. You take it away, dude.
All right, just to give you kind of background information, my dad worked in the aerospace industry, and it seemed like every other month they're having layoffs, and then he had to worry about his job security. And fortunately, he got through that, but it's a very stressful situation when you don't know what's going to happen, right? Because that's kind of looming over your head. You could lose your job. You got families to support and all this other stuff. So yeah, I definitely know what these people, like specifically, I don't know what they're going through, but I've been in it with my family, So yeah, it sucks. And the gaming industry is tough, and I don't understand what Activision's doing at this time. And they get that, big bad, title, the negative stigma, for a reason, and it's just getting worse for them. And it sucks. But hopefully now that these people have kind of, I don't know, they're getting notified in advance, so they can kind of get their resumes out there and their LinkedIn profiles. Because I saw a lot of people in the social media realms just reaching out to these people, the 800 people that got, laid off or lost their jobs, and just trying to say, hey, if you have any job postings, put them here and help these people out, because it does suck. And the gaming industry is just kind of, it's hard to keep your job per se. But if I was someone in the industry and I got a job offering from Activision, especially a developer, I would think twice whether or not I wanted to sign up with them, just going based off of this situation. Hey, you have record profits and you're going to lay off how many employees? Doesn't make any sense. So moving forward, I think people should be pretty careful whether or not they want to sign up with Activision,
Yeah, look, I would be very weary to take a job from either Activision or EA for sure. Real quick, I just want to say hello and thanks for Zawani in the chat is asking any news on Neo for the Xbox. And yes, there is some information. I'm actually working on that story prior to going live. That is going to be a topic on tomorrow's Xbox Factor podcast. That's going to be at noon with the Welsh Gamer. So if you're interested, I don't have all the information in front of me. Like I said, it's a story I've been working on today. I will have all the information regarding that on tomorrow's show. But Salty, let me just say this. First of all, teaming up with you was probably the best thing I did in 2018. We've become more than friends. I like to consider you a brother. We are... This is an amazing show. We have an amazing fan base. We had 150 plus people watching, which is just amazing. Like I said, it's humbling, guys. You don't understand what this means to us. We're smaller YouTubers, and we don't have million subs. But you know what? We are the kind of people, you get what you get on the air. We are like this in real life. And whether you like it or not, I mean, that's entirely up to you. But I want to thank everyone in the chat once again. We had one knucklehead that, thanks of course to Lethal Papa, who is the enforcer of the chat. He took care of business, so thank you, Lethal Papa, for that. You are an absolute gem and a major part of this community. Usually UK Dazarus is there. I didn't see him in the chat unless I missed him. So UK, if I missed you, brother, I'm sorry.
I think he's taking a break for the week.
Yeah, he did say he was okay. So he's still on a break. Okay, yeah. Well, of course, best wishes to him. He does a lot for this community, so he deserves a break. But Salty, your channel's blowing up. You just crossed 3,100 subs, man. That's insane, dude. And you know what? Your channel is great. You're doing a lot of daily videos. You did your review on Metro, which I definitely encourage everyone that was on the fence and you missed the segment. Either watch it on the replay or go check out his review because it was really well done. Everything was detailed. Salty, tell everyone where they can find you, but more importantly, subscribe to your channel.
Yeah, so we got a lot of things going on here. I just posted a link to the official Discord for Saltiest Gaming, which I think DJ Seeing wants you to join. Boom. It's not for everybody, obviously, but it's cool. It's a place to hang out with gaming brethren and sisters. It's just kind of like this chat, right? It's you talk games or whatever. It's just you could post things, you can talk, you can make friends, you can, et cetera, et cetera. So just think about that. I did that review for Metro. It's very well received right now, so that's cool. Metro, like I said, if I see a game out there that I feel needs attention, and I feel like Metro does need attention, because like I said before, I didn't think this game was going to be on my level or even my bag, but I was completely wrong. For whatever reason, the day before this game came out, I was like, holy shit, I got to pull the trigger on this, because Skill Up said, hey, I'm playing this game because it's so good. I'm delaying my review because I enjoyed that much. And at that point, I saw enough game trailers and how visually stunning this game looked. And I trust Skill Up to not shill and just say
Skill Up,
shit.
They're great. I love them as well. Yeah.
So he said that, and some other people said stuff, and I'm like, dude, I got to go in on this. I know it's a risk, but I think it's going to pay out. And boy, did it pay out. I think it's one of my favorite games ever this generation. So yeah, check out that review. I'm working on a review for Crackdown 3, the infamous 60 Metacritic, which doesn't make any sense. The cool thing about my review here, and this is a long-winded outro, but
that's okay. Go for it, dude.
This is coming from a guy that is not a Crackdown fan, right? A guy that doesn't have any investments in the franchise, and I'm not shilling. So you guys got to take notice to what I say, all right? Like, it's a surprising take on my experience through the game for the good, right? So stay tuned to that. I'm working on it. I have it up as we speak in the background. Also, we have a giveaway on the Saltiest Gaming podcast finally for Anthem, PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. You could win it too. I'll put the link in the chat again. I've been posting that. You just gotta, it's a Gleam giveaway, so you just gotta be a subscriber and some other things, and you can win, man. Just go to the Saltiest Gaming podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern, and you could be a winner of a free game. I mean, that's about it. Follow me on Twitter. We're almost at 3,000 followers there. And yeah, longest outro I've ever done. So,
well, listen, this is a conversational podcast, and that's what we do. We love to entertain. We love to talk video games. And once again, before we get out of here, I just want to kind of throw this out to the chat. I know we lost a lot of people, but on Saturday, this particular Saturday, I'm having a Double Barrel Gaming Presents special edition episode where an awesome panel of people are going to be talking about and giving our review of Crackdown 3. And I'm just going to throw this out right now. This is no fanboys. It's going to be a lot of, it's going to have its positives and negatives. But if you're someone who has been, I guess, a bit disgusted with the media and how they've treated Crackdown and Sumo Digital, you might want to tune into this because this is going to be a very positive show. Crackdown blew me away. I'm a big fan, and everyone on the panel, which I'll be making an announcement later this week on who's the actual panel, has a lot of great things to say about Crackdown, and that's why I decided to do this special episode because I actually got a little sick and tired of all the negativity surrounding this game, and I wanted, like Salty was saying, I felt it necessary to put it into the positive light for a change. So please tune in for that. And obviously, tomorrow's Xbox Factor podcast will be going live at noon. Of course, that will be with the Welsh Gamer and Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday morning. I'll be making an announcement of the guest list for that, and it's also very stacked. Once again, I want to thank everybody for the absolute generosity with the donations with Super Chat. You guys are very kind and generous. I cannot thank you enough. And of course, a big thank you to the chat. Playing nice with with one another, just hanging out and talking games is really what I strive for. And I'm really proud of the way that you treat each other. That really does mean a lot to me. And I just want to wish everyone a great rest of the week. And Salty and I will see you next week on his channel on the latest episode of Gaming News at Noon with Salty and Boom. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Take care.